Hello. Right, don't have much to talk about, so I'm going to go over another vertical bracket. One thing I'll get out of the way, this is paint. If anybody thinks I've got some kind of contagious thing, I've been painting for my son, so you'll have to excuse the messy fingers. Right, last time it was easy DIY and the Fantex. I was explaining the Fantex is very basic, it was very just straight down and across. Plain and simple, worked, but the downside was it wasn't particularly strong and it didn't give you much customization about where you could actually place it. Easy DIY, very strong, you can move it across, which is great. I did have, the one I'll show you in a second, a Cooler Master V2 in the past, and it was nowhere near as strong as this, and it did sag. Problem with this is my AIO sits there, it's chunky, tubes are at the bottom. When this actually sits in place, my GPU, if I put it onto the top one, which is where it's meant to be, so I'd actually have clearance for these so I can push these further back, it won't fit. It's right up against it, so I have to have it on like one down, and because it's one down, it catches on here, and so I have to push the fans further forward, which is not ideal. Now, Cooler Master version 3, another Gen 4. Looks wise, they're kind of the same. You could say it maybe looks a bit better, but once your GPU is on there, you can't see these things anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Same kind of thing. The riser 4, extended length. One thing is a little bit nice is the fact that probably can't do it with one hand, but these actually just there's levers on them on the back, and you pop these up and then you move it backwards and forwards rather than the screws, which is on that one. So that's a nice little touch. The trick with this one is that it's kind of like the Easy DIY one where it's like that, but you can also extend it further away from your motherboard. Now, it could help a few people with a few different things. One thing it does help with, if you have the space to be able to use it, is the fact that you don't have to put such a tight bend on the riser, because you can have it further away from the motherboard. Whereas if you notice, most of them, and this is actually hanging out, so it's not even showing you how tight it is. With most brackets, they're really tight up against the riser, and so you have to put a really tight bend on them. With this one, because you can move it further away, you won't have to put such tight bend on. It also means I can actually have it on the top one, because it won't interfere with here, because I'll just move it further forward, and so the GPU will be sat here, not right up underneath it. Obviously still not ideal. I mean, the next AIO I get will probably try and aim for one with the tubes on the side. You can probably do it with this one, but it recommends it not to. Mainly because it's still going to sit right underneath the tubes, but it won't be like literally millimeter underneath it. It's also going to like sit further more forward there, so like I say, it'll help with the riser. The riser cable won't have to be bent as harsh. Keep up my hand in front of the camera, and it keeps focusing it in and out. So that's it. Yeah, if you're going to go at this moment in time, you certainly want to go with the V3. There's a lot more customization you can do with it, whether it be for actually having it further along, further back. And the other thing which is going to help as well, as I pointed out on the last one where I was comparing them, is Easy DIY. You can move it further along, so you can actually have on my case here, the cable comes straight out to it rather than it being at an angle, depending on the length of the card. I can actually have it adjusted to where the actual pin socket is. It can come out straight to it. Now, I am still, because of all these cables and because this motherboard is bigger than what should be in this case, I am still having to have it set at an exact point. And so I am having to have it, it's it's not what you would call it a big bend, but at the same time, I would like it if it was even straighter. Now, because this bracket will be sitting more further forward, I'll be able to have even less of a bend on that. It'll literally just come more straight out. It's a simple thing, but it really, really does help. In my case, where I needed it further away from the AIO and the tubes, and I wanted it on the top, so I can move these back. I can also have this straighter. The riser cable is not going to be as bent as much, so it ticks a lot of boxes. So it's highly recommended. The other thing which was going to talk about was the fact, obviously, with just the Computex, the meeting, showing off all the new gadgets and everything else. You got the NV5 and NV9. NV5, really nice, really flash. I don't think it's for a 4090, maybe a 4080, because it's only got the side intakes and it's got one fan at the bottom. To me, when you've got kind of like 4080s, 4090s, certainly 4090s, you really do need fans underneath them, really, unless you've got a really open front kind of case, but that one isn't. It's like this. So I think 4080s and 4090s won't be ideal for that one. Maybe the 4080s, I don't know, but I don't think 4090s are going to like being in that case. But it is a really smart looking thing, and it's obviously smaller than this. The NV9 is kind of like this one, but with a lot of the issues fixed. So that they have rectified a few things with buttons and certain placements. There's a little bit more room around the back, which was one of my gripes. I thought the cable management was it has to be too good. You have to be really, really good with your cables. And it's also got like a GPU mount on the NV9 where you can actually mount your GPU on there, but I personally think that's a horrible thing to do unless it's going to be water cooled, because when you set your GPU on there, obviously you've got the fin stack on either side, and even if it's pulling it, I really don't see how that card's going to breathe well, being pressed right up against glass, and obviously the framework as well. I really don't see how that works, but I'm sure there's some people out there who'll make use of it, but I don't think it looks nice, and I don't think it's going to work very well, especially for the bigger, hotter cards. Now, the one downside to the NV9, it is slightly bigger, but it's not much bigger than this, is the fact that they want you to go into the 140s, the 140 size fans. Bit more pricey, obviously, but the thing why I tend to stick with the 120s and always have stuck with the 120s is it's easy to get cases for the 120s, and you tend to, when you're buying new case, you tend to take your fans with you. I really like these fans, and I do want to take them on to future things. I'm saying that, but if you've seen my past track record, that's probably not going to happen. But when you go for something like the NV9, it really wants to push onto the 140s, which means that your next case is going to have to accommodate 140s as well. So it's going to be on the larger side of cases. But yeah, if you haven't bought a case and you were on the fence, I'd probably say if you have the budget to do the NV9, just because there's just more options with it, and it kind of fixes some of the issues with this one. But if you're not wanting to go down to the whole 140s and stuff, the NV7 to me is the better one. The NV5, I think it's for the smaller GPUs. I think once you start dumping a lot of heat in that thing, it's going to have issues. What was the other thing? Oh, the Lee, they've got some nice new cases out. There's not a great deal of difference with their new stuff. You can move a few things here and there, but they kind of look the same as the last ones. The one thing which I did see them do, which was really smart and is probably going to be really damned expensive, is their new fans. They've got little LCD screens on all the inner cores, and you can have all sorts of stuff displayed on them. It's really, really, really smart. Now, the one thing with that is I'd be interested to see what the performance is like, because normally when you start adding things to fans, you'll find that the performance is never as good as what a stock fan is. So I mean, if you look at like the top 10 of best airflow and all this kind of stuff, you'll notice the ones are usually in the top 3 spot. They don't have any kind of ARGB, RGB or anything like that on it. They're just purely just fans. Now, it seems to be when you introduce other different things, it seems to have an effect on them, whether it be the shape or design, framework. I'm not sure what it is, but they normally fall behind just fans which are purely designed to just do one job and that's it. So it'll be interesting to see what these Lee and Lee fans are going to be like. Are they just going to be purely for show and just average performance, or is the performance going to match how good they look? Because if it does, that's going to be some very tasty looking fans and some very good performance out of them as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, that's all for me.